everyone, thanks so much for joining today and thanks for watching this video. So grateful that you're here. Please like and subscribe and add any comments, share any general ideas or suggestions. I'd absolutely love to hear them. This is meant to be a very authentic channel where I just try and share and impart knowledge. I am still young, of course, but there's a lot of life experiences that I've had, especially with what today's topic is, which is overcoming asthma, that I'd love to share. So just so you know, I actually still have like this chronic underlying asthma inside my body, but for the most part, I've like completely revolutionized and transformed my experience with asthma. So when I was about 4 years old, I was diagnosed with asthma, but then when I was about 14, I actually started experiencing these 2-week-long asthma attacks. So essentially, it was actually more that I got a cold, and then that cold would exacerbate the asthma so bad that I could barely breathe, I could barely walk, I couldn't even smile, which you don't even realize like how it takes energy to smile. But it does, surprise, surprise. I couldn't eat that much. I was just like really suffering. And for those who don't know, asthma is like basically a two-pronged illness. So one, the lungs and the airways actually get inflamed. So, it's like basically an overreaction to something that it considers an allergen. So for me, it was dust, mold, pets, dander, and also colds, like just being sick internally. Usually you get phlegm, but for people with asthma, that can actually really exacerbate the issue and cause a lot more problems than normal. And so the first thing is inflammation of the lungs, the airways, excuse me. And then the second thing is the tightening of the airways too. So it's like a terrible problem, right? Can you imagine? It's like, it's fully inflamed and then you're trying to tighten it as well. Like, who does that, right? But that's asthma for you. And, I grew up in the city in San Francisco, California, and I think it's just quite common for more and more younger people to have asthma, perhaps more in urban areas as well. They've done studies actually that there's a graveyard, an army area that had a lot of chemicals and all of these pollutants in the water. And actually the students and the kids that grew up in that area of San Francisco, it's called Hunters Point, had higher rates of asthma. And so, there's many environmental reasons why people have more asthma. For me, it could have been environmental. I was born and raised in San Francisco, but also my father had asthma, my grandmother had emphysema on his side. So it may have been hereditary, but who knows, anyways. So I started at 14. I was studying at Lowell High School too. I was in a very competitive, very top-notch, very challenging school where you have to study. That is your main job as a student. You are required to study, and you are working with all of these students who are equally motivated to study and get into a really good college. So there was that kind of external pressure, but ultimately I had asthma. I could not survive. Like I had such horrific asthma that I probably should have been hospitalized like 40 times, but my parents really wanted to protect me from being on medications for the rest of my life and addicted to like the machines where, the breathing machines that allow you to breathe in and out. And so fortunately, we used our Buddhist practice, which, Buddhist practice is always in line with reason too. You have to have both. You have to use rational, logical reason and follow doctor's advice, but you also want to take the power of your own life. And we call like the medicine king, essentially, like bringing out the most positive, best part of yourself, but also be allowing like all of the cells in my body to unite to really overcome asthma. And so I would imagine and visualize my cells attacking all of the asthma, or transforming and becoming so much stronger and powerful, right? That they wouldn't become so resistant to like dust and pollen and dog dander and like a billion things, right? I was allergic to so much. So and also just build that immune system, right? So that anytime I got a cold, I wasn't bedridden from a cold, right? And that's essentially what it was. I was essentially like bedridden for about 2 years, like a year and a half or so, between 14 and 15, during my primary high school years when I was supposed to be studying all the time. And so, I really suffered. It was really tough, not just on me, but my family. My mom ended up chanting sometimes for 24 hours. She would just stay up all night, like chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo and really trying to help me overcome my asthma naturally. But of course I took like, I tried everything. I took some vitamin C, I took some, and I was addicted to these inhalers because it was what kept me alive, right, during these times. And it was always this 2-week cycle where I would start off with a cold, no big deal, and then it would suddenly like peak and it would be like horrifically terrible, and then it would slowly get better again. And some examples to give you some more clarity on it is that, for example, I couldn't smile, like I mentioned. I remember having to hide in the bathroom sometimes during the breaks during high school because I didn't want anybody's attention on it. Normally, I really like attention, as you can tell with this, right? I mean, it takes a certain personality to make these YouTube videos, but back then I just knew that nobody could really help me. The only thing that could help was like a doctor or inhaler or chanting, right? And so I didn't really want to bother people per se too, because I had been through that so many times where like people are trying to help, but they really can't, right? There's absolutely nothing they can do. So I would just hide to kind of avoid that and reduce the energy needed to have to interact with folks, which seems really introverted or exclusionary, but actually it was a survival mechanism, right? I was basically trying to survive school and ace my studies and be present in class and still do really well in school despite having these like chronic, debilitating, terrible illness. So so basically that happened. And then finally, some days I couldn't even go to school. I was just way too sick. I had absolutely no energy to do that. And so I would chant with my parents for like 7 hours a day. I mean, can you imagine any 15-year-old meditating for like 14 hours a day and actively chanting that prayer, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, like for 7 freaking hours? That's insane. But I did it, right? I made it happen. I was very dedicated. I had absolutely nothing to lose. And, I had this one clarifying moment with my mother where I was like, Mom, why am I not getting any better? Like, what the heck? You've been telling me I just need to chant and then I will get better. I will eventually overcome this, right? I don't understand why I'm not getting better. And she looked me dead straight in the eye, and she's a very strict mother, a tiger mother kind of thing. And she was like, Julie, you have absolutely no appreciation. That is why you're not getting better. You have to like just appreciate the fact that you are even alive. Like, this is such a gift to be alive. You have such a big mission in this world. You really need to just be grateful to even be able to breathe like a little bit, right? And so I was kind of like shocked. It like really woke me up. I was like, whoa, like that's really good guidance. Like, that's actually absolutely what I needed to hear. And so that completely transformed my thinking. And essentially I went to directly thinking like, I'm so grateful to be alive. Like, thank you so much. I am so happy. Like, even if I die tomorrow, I will be satisfied with my life. I am so grateful for this opportunity to just sit here and chant. And for some way, shape, or form, I still got all A's too. I have absolutely no idea how I did it, because I was barely like, I mean, you can't breathe. You can't, it's still kind of emotional to talk about this, but essentially you can't breathe, and it means that, none of the air is going to your brain cells, right? So obviously you're like deficient somehow too, right? You're not getting as much energy and molecules and oxygen to your brain. So of course you can't be as efficient, as productive, right, as you normally would. And so that was probably one of the most amazing and insane experiences in my life at such a young and tender age, where I really had to overcome such a debilitating illness that should have had me hospitalized many times over, but I actually only went to the hospital once, and they drugged me up with all this medicine, which was fantastic. It helped a lot. But for the most part, I stayed out of the hospital. I chanted Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and I listened to doctors and took medicine and tried to stay away from steroids and stronger stuff, because I really wanted to overcome this on my own. And after about 1.5 years of doing this and having so much gratitude for being alive, really grateful for my parents for chanting so much for me, and all of the other Buddhist members who chanted for me, and just having so much support in my life at that time, I finally overcame it. It just slowly withered away. Like, it was very gradual. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo is not a miracle. There's no it's not like God did something for me or something. There's no miracle to it really per se, but essentially I was able to fully overcome my asthma. And then by the age of 21, I started running in college. And so when I was 21, I signed up for, it was maybe 21. I signed up for a full marathon, and I actually donated to the Lymphoma and Leukemia Society as well, and I did it with Team in Training, and so I had really great phenomenal support. I was also working at Google at the time, so they sponsored me as well, and I made over $5,500 at the age of 21 to give back to society and run a full marathon. And that was really the huge breaking point. You know, I went from like just meditating 7 hours a day and not being able to walk more than like 10 steps to running a full marathon, which is 21 miles. It's absolutely absurd and insane. And of course that was a span of like 6-7 years, but that goes to show you like the power of being able to transform these crazy hurdles and really terrible health obstacles, and really transforming this poison in my life into medicine, right? And so I hope that's encouraging. I hope you really like this video, and I'm so grateful that you were listening. And please like and comment and share any ideas, anything else you'd like to hear. Thank you so much, and hope to see you soon. And please subscribe. Thank you. Bye.